Good evening, and welcome to Be Extraordinary Podcast. I'm excited to be back in the studio today. I've been around the world, it appears. We were out in Eugene, Oregon at the Olympic trials. We saw my daughter run, his athlete run. She had a fantastic season. She made it to the semifinals and did really well. So that was a really good opportunity for us to see her run in her first Olympic trials and do a fine job. So glad to be back in the studio.
Thank you for being back in the studio.
I am Joetta, the 4-time Olympian, motivational speaker, entrepreneur, and the host for Be Extraordinary Podcast. And as I talk to you, I keep saying we. So you see my co-partner over here, Tyrone Johnson, retired firefighter, a first responder, a mental health and wellness consultant, and he is a nationally renowned high school track and field coach. So we are in studio today, and we have a very, very special show, and we can't wait to talk to our guest this evening. Before we talk about him a little bit more, the music was a dead giveaway where he played the Batman music. So yeah. His name is Bershawn Batman Jackson, and he will be our guest for this evening. Gosh, he has a bunch of accolades. I'm going to pull out some of the highlights from the information you see on the screen. Bershawn Batman Jackson, some of his highlights are he's a 5-time USA track and field outdoor champion, 2003, 8, 9, 10. If you see that time down, it's 47:23. That is flying over hurdles. Not a flat 400. He's running over 10 hurdles. He also is a 2-time USA track and field indoor champion at the 400 meters. He is a 2011 USATF outdoor runner-up. He is a bronze medalist as well. He's a junior champion as well. Internationally, it's unbelievable what he's done. He is a 2005 gold medalist in the 400-meter hurdles. And he also ran on the 4x4 gold medal. He got a bronze medal at the Olympic Games in 2008. And he also got a bronze medal at the World Outdoor Championships in 2009. And he ran in the World Indoor Championships. He got a gold medal there on a blistering time of 3:03 for the 4x4. And he has amazing awards. One of the main awards that he got was the 2010 IAAF Diamond League champion. And we'll talk about that. There was a lot of money involved in that one. So he'll tell you about that amazing accomplishment. So we'd like to take the opportunity to welcome Bershawn Batman Jackson to the show. We have a race that we're going to show. And then when you see this race, the next face you will see will be that of our guest. The race that you're going to see is from, I think, the World Championships and
2005.
2005 yes. World Championships. Thank you. And as athletes, we run in all kinds of conditions. And if you look at that track, you see the track is wet. So we're going to show you this video. Please sit back and enjoy it because the next face you see will be Bershawn Batman Jackson.
Away this time, and it's clear Jackson's posed his intent. He's gone off very quickly, so has Clement on the inside. Carter going strong, and Sanchez has pulled up, he's injured, he's out already. And that means there's no target for Clement now. There's a lane separating them. And Tamasu has gone off quickly as I thought he would. Cater's off slowly. Van Zyl is going well towards 200 meters. Van Zyl and Carter, these two. Clement's a lot of work to do. Tamasu still going strong on the outside. Van Zyl, the South African, up on Jackson. It's Jackson and Van Zyl, and here comes Carter, and here comes Clement on the inside. There's a better run from him. Here comes Jackson and Carter. It's the American trio now, and Carter in the middle, and Jackson on the near side. Who takes the hurdle better? Jackson just slightly, and Carter coming away, and he's going to be second again. Jackson, Carter, and well, it could have been Tamasu over Clement. It's very, very close for the bronze medal, but 47-31. And Carter is the nearly man again, and it went to the form book with Jackson.
That he knew that the other Americans would be coming at him hard.
Wow, that gave me chills. What about you?
That's great, Bershawn.
Well,
so before we get started on the segment, another baton is getting ready to be passed to a legend, one of the greatest 400-meter hurdlers in the United States. So, Bershawn, get ready to get this baton. I'm coming, and here you go.
You got the baton, Bershawn?
I got it.
Well, you know, we hear you, but we can't see your handsome face. So,
okay, I'm sorry. Can you see me now?
Oh, he's over.
Okay.
Can you see me now?
Yes, we can see you now.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. So look, we're getting ready to talk about the segments. What we do on this show, we have 3 segments. We have your get on your mark, get set, and then go. And then during these segments, we're going to have the opportunity to ask you questions. Now, we always say each segment is 20 minutes. Time goes by really quickly, and the audience has an opportunity to ask you questions. What they would do is raise their hand. We're calling them, and they're asking them questions. So since it's our show, we're going to start off with our question on your mark. Can you tell us, how did you get started running?
So, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. It's an amazing opportunity. Joetta, you've been an inspiration to a lot of people. You're my hero for sure. And you know what you've done in your career is absolutely stunning as well. But I started in Miami, Florida. Be honest, I was pole to pole. You know, the fastest run through the poles, and I lived in a place called Scott Project. So it was public housing, and I raced this guy who lived next door daughter. And when I raced his daughter, he said, man, because he said he swear his daughter's the fastest kid in the neighborhood. So I smoked this daughter, and after I beat his daughter, he said, you should come run track.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, my family couldn't afford it, and he took me to the track one day, and I blew everybody out, and I ran well, and I never showed up again. So the guy kept going to my dad and my mom, like, look, man, this kid can run, put him in track. And then my parents like, no, we can't afford it, and this and that. So the track coach of the team named Jesse Hope, and he came to my parents and said, look, I will sponsor this kid. I'll pay for everything, but let this kid run track. And he sees something in me, Joetta, that I ain't seeing myself. And from there, I resurrected. Like, I wasn't that good of a kid. I felt like I was a hard worker. I felt like I had a lot of heart, tenacity. I always been gritty. I was a gritty athlete. I was gritty on the track and off the track. I was a fighter, and I ain't gonna say I was bad. I was a product of my environment. I was in a rough neighborhood, and you see a lot of violence and crime. But Coach Hope continued to invest his heart in me, continued to, you know, and see something in me I ain't seeing myself. And when I became a junior in high school, it's like, Joetta, my career, like my track and field took off. Like I went from, you know, running youth track to running high school track. And then from there, I don't know how far you want me to get, how in depth you want me to get into it, but from there, that's how I started.
Well, right now we're on the mark part, so it's the beginning part. And I know Tyrone has something he wants to ask you, but before he does that, you said about the coach sponsored you. And it's so important as a youth to have someone believe in you, believe in your aspirations and your dreams. And so I know you thank that coach for seeing you and sponsoring you and changing your life around, because you said you grew up in the projects. And so that changed your life around and probably gave you a lot of confidence and encouraged you to do some positive things.
Yes, and at the time, who were some of your guys that inspired you? It could be an athlete, professional, you know, anybody that were on, what really was on TV that you saw that you wanted to become who you are now.
To be honest, and I'm gonna keep it real with you guys, and a lot of people don't tell their story, but I'm gonna tell you, I didn't have many people to inspire me. So, you know, my cousin, he was dealing dope heavy, and also some other people in my family, and I wasn't around people that inspired me. You know, track wasn't my destiny, right? You know, I was in a neighborhood where, you know, it was a fast life. You know, we fought all the time, and, you know, everybody wanted to go to the NFL, but, you know, as far as inspirations, I can't say I didn't have none. You know, my grandma inspired me because she worked so hard, and my grandma raised me. I lived in her house, and, you know, to see her work 2 and 3 jobs and come home and make sure she cooked dinner every night, that was, for me, that was an inspiration. Like, damn, my grandma worked hard.
Inspiration, yes.
So my inspiration was, I need to go pro so I can help her. And I seen my mom crying pretty nice because, you know, she couldn't get me a Christmas. So I think all in all, that was my inspiration because I wanted better. You know, I wanted to be the first in my family to get to go to college because my track coach told me I can go to college one day. And I say, I don't think I'm college material. That's what I told him. Nobody in my family goes to college. And my mom said if I go to college, I can mess up credit card. And what that means is, you know, the culture is everybody go to school and drop out. Right. And they stuck in this box. And, if you stuck in the box for so long, mentally you was in the box. So for me, my inspiration was me trying to do something better. You know, I always had ambition to make it. People ask me all the time, you think I would have made it if I wouldn't have ran track? Absolutely, because I wanted to do something different.
Yes.
From everybody else in the neighborhood was doing. I wanted to be the inspiration.
Right. And so that's why you're on this show called Be Extraordinary. And I always say you can't hang around ordinary people. They don't see your vision. They don't understand who you are. So as you were on your mark and getting started, you knew that you wanted to be extraordinary. You didn't know exactly how, but you knew you had a grandmother that inspired you. You had a coach that believed in you, and then you started believing in yourself, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then that's when you said, wow, I can go to college, I can go pro, but we get to that a little bit later on in the show. But right now, we want to see, does anyone have any questions at this point? Because you're being very transparent. I think that when we have guests on, Olympians on, they see all your great accolades. They don't understand the road that you took to get
there. Journey, absolutely, the road, the journey.
Yes.
So I have another question for you.
Go ahead.
You got, asked to run track by your coach. You started to run track. What made you get into the hurdles?
The hurdles was, I was an active kid. It's gonna sound funny, but I was a bad active kid. And I asked my coach, can I try the hurdles? Because I just wanted to try it. And he told me, no, you can't try it. So I jumped in it anyway, being I was very mischievous, and I jumped in anyway. I was like, I'm gonna do these hurdles. And I jumped in the hurdles, and I won. I did 80-meter hurdles. And I won.
80-meter hurdles.
80-meter hurdles. Oh, okay.
Yeah, 80-meter hurdles. I was 12 years old, and I jumped in the 80-meter hurdles, and I won. And coach was like, did y'all see Batman? So I had the nickname Batman since I was about 10 years old. It started because they had big ears, and I fly when I run. And it's amazing how that name carried with me throughout my whole professional career. So they called me Batman, and he said, did you see Batman run them hurdles? And it's everybody like, yeah, man, Batman. I ended up making the JOs that year. And then the year after that, I made the JOs again. And I think I was just a natural. Like, I don't know if God was telling me this is who you are. But, the hurdles chose me. I didn't choose the hurdles. I just jumped in it. And from there, I took off.
And so when you say the hurdles, you're like 5'10" now. So I guess at 12 you may have been, I don't know how tall you were, but were those hurdles high for you to get over?
I'm actually 5'8".
Oh, okay, you're 5'8". So not many people go down in their height. You went down, so you're 5'8". I would try to give you a couple of inches there. So when you were 12 and 13, were those high for you? Those hurdles?
Yeah, no, very high. Joetta,
you could three-step from it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, it was very high for me. I was always a small guy, very, very small guy. Like, I was looking at my bio, and in high school when I graduated, I was 5'6", 138 pounds as a senior in high school. So that was typically why I was low recruited, because they said I was too small. So I always been a small guy. I always been very powerful, and I always been fast. I always had a lot of grit. So yes, the hurdles was higher, but I was so powerful that it didn't affect me too much. It affected me more in high school as the hurdles got higher.
Right. But
I still managed to get over them, and I still managed to run well. So that never been a hindrance for me.
I guess if you look at the hurdles as being obstacles in your life, and you conquering each obstacle, not only on the track, but in life. So I guess that's kind of how you look at the hurdle races that you ran, that you're conquering obstacles in your life, and you just navigated throughout your whole career. It was an amazing career, to say the least. Now, do we have any questions from anyone for this segment? Not yet. Remember, if you have a question, you can raise your hand and we'll see it, and then we'll read your question. This segment goes by these segments go by really fast, and we have maybe like 2 more minutes in this segment. But what I want to do, Batman, because we're still in the beginning, when did you realize that you could get a scholarship to college?
My junior year, I went to, and how it happened, I ran JOs, and I won JOs for the first time my junior year in high school. And I went to school with a girl by the name of Tiffany Ross. She's Tiffany Ross Williams now. She made the Olympic team. But she's at University of South Carolina. And she went to Curtis Fry. She said, man, you need to recruit Batman. At this point, I had no college looks at all. I'm a junior high school. I ran 52 in the 400 hurdles at this point. Now I take that back. That was my sophomore year. I ran 50.9 by my junior year of high school. 50.9. And at the time, there was like one of the best in the nation outside of a guy named Benny Brazil, outside of a guy named the White Ruff, etc. So that was my first offer. And then Illinois came, and University of Florida came to the party a little late. By that time, Coach Fry put so much pressure because people didn't really notice me. I never left Miami. So I was a kid that went to JO, and I got outshadowed by your Kelly Willies of the world and your Jeremy Warners, and like they were just so exceptional, right? And for me, I was a short kid. And when you look at hurdlers, you look at 6 feet and higher, 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". So that was more your Karan Clement. That was more your Kenneth Ferguson. Like they and a kid named Dexter Falk, they was highly recruited because they was tall. And for me being short, in history, we never seen this before. So college didn't want to really take chances. And I ain't gonna say it left me a menace. I wasn't a menace. I wasn't a bad kid. After I turned professional, I never got no trouble in college. I never got no trouble as a professional athlete. In high school, I got a little bit of trouble because we had this code, like one fight, we all fight. And that's ignorant, that's immaturity, that's young. But I was a kid. I'm a protector, right? By faith. And if you with me, I'm riding with you. That's just who I am.
Well, you know
and we can be walking. Go ahead.
No, I said we got a lot of people with you right now. We have a question we want to get to. So we're going to come back to your college experience because I want to be on your side. So I want you to know I'm with you. So I'm going to come back to you. And we're going to have this question by
Victor Coulter.
Vic Coulter.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Mr.
Pleasure to meet you. Yelled at my TV. A lot of years watching you running, cheering you on, as well as a lot of athletes. My question today is, how was your transition from, say, college into the professional level? And did you have any or a lot of oppositions?
That's a great question. That's really, talking about my career taking off is the first year I went pro, I didn't lose a race in college. I wanted to go pro from the beginning. I kept saying, I want to go pro to my coach. And as a freshman in high school, he's like, oh, you're too ambitious. I went to St. Augustine University. And George Williams was my coach. And I told him when I first got there, I said, I want to do 1 year and I want to go pro. And he said, why you want to go pro so early? He's like, well, because my parents needed, my mom needed, I came from a poor situation. And I want to go pro. So I'm willing to work hard and do whatever it takes to go pro. So I dominated college, and then after I dominated college, I broke NCAA record for Division II. I won it. I went 20.3 to 200. When I say I never lost a race car, I never lost a single race, not the 200, the 400, the 400 hurdles. I didn't lose in college. I didn't lose a single race. The first race I lost was at the Olympic trials in the finals. Wow. But I go to Olympic trials, Vic, and I come in fourth. And I'm not your typical athlete. Like, I'm so ambitious, and I could be considered a dog. Like, I just don't care. Like, you got to beat me no matter what. I don't care how big you is, how tough you is. Like, I'm tougher. And the transition was actually easy because when I took fourth at the Olympic trials, I was pissed. And then I got into a little bit of trouble beating Felix Sanchez. And I'm like, how can I beat Felix Sanchez? I go out hard and I die, and I go out a little bit slow, and I don't have enough room. I almost beat him once, but I told my coach, I said, look, coach, I have to get stronger. I have to get stronger, and I have to, you know, be in a position where I can be successful at the end of the race. So, I'm gonna talk about this is the shoe companies didn't really want to invest in it because they said, as a short hurdler, the fastest anyone has ever ran is 47.8 doing 15 strides. 15 strides is what women do. Delilah Muhammad do 15 strides, and Sydney McLaughlin do 15 strides. So I was doing
Batman,
15 strides.
Hey, Batman, we got to stop you because you're going ahead, and we have to bring this crew along. We don't. This is not an all-track based audience, and so you're talking about 15 strides and hurdles and pro. We're not there yet, but I want you on my side. But I have a sponsor that we got to keep on our side as well. So we're going to come back to the pro in the next segment, and we're going to bring up our sponsor so everyone can see who's helping to sponsor this amazing program.
Okay. Surre, Goldberg, and Henry, providing excellent service for over 50 years. It's one of the leading surety bond agencies located just 30 miles outside of New York City. If you want to get in contact with them, you can look at the phone number, you can fax them, or you can just go to the website, sghassociates.com.
Wow, we got that in because we want them on our side. And, you know, these segments go really quickly, so thank you for asking that question. We did have a question that someone wanted to ask, and that was, we're now in our set position. You know, runners to your mark, and now we're in a set position. You talked a little bit about the college transition, how you got to school down in St. Augustine, and you were going through that experience. So right now, we're going to ask you some questions relevant to that. And if anyone has any questions that are relevant to the set position, which is what we're talking about, and then we're going to get the professionals into Olympics and all that stuff a little bit later on, but we're trying to stay in the same segment so that everyone can go along with us, because all of us are not Olympians and great athletes, so they don't know the language. So we talk about the HBCU that you went to. You were down in St. Aug, and you went undefeated. And I don't know if you stayed 1 year. Did you graduate from there? Did you go pro? Let's pick up from that place. Your signal is off a little bit. I think you're freezing. Let's try and fix your signal.
Now, can you hear me now?
Keep going. So far, so good.
Hello?
Yes, we're here.
Okay.
Oh, we lost him.
We lost him, it appears. So when we're gonna let him come back in. Oh, there he is.
That's Matt. There you go. Okay. Unmute him, Matt. He's back.
Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. I hit a bad spot.
Okay.
When I first got to college, it was a terrible experience. You know, it's nothing I dreamed of, right? You dream of going to this big Division I school, and you see a whole bunch of people, and it's nice campuses, and I get to school, and I get there, and A, it's 1,000 students. B, my dorm room had no AC in it. I had to put a fan inside the window. So I'm like, man, what did I come to? And everybody on the team was jealous. You know, they didn't embrace me at all. I'm there, and they're like, you know, who is this kid from Miami? And, you know, it wasn't no team camaraderie. And I remember calling my mom, my dad. I'm like, I think I made a bad decision, you know, because George Williams was good friends with my track coach back home. Right. So it's more of a friend deal. Like, you know, give this guy a chance. George is good. And I'm like, I called my coach. I'm like, I think we made a mistake. I don't know if I like it here.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's the best decision I could have ever made in my life. And one of my things I tell athletes is not where you're at, it's where you're going.
Yes.
They loved on me. That my teammates ended up embracing me once I got there. After they seen, okay, this guy is cool and down to earth. And my experience was great, you know, from that moment on. And I did get my degree after I went pro my first year. I went 1 year of college. I went pro as a freshman, and Nike put in my contract that they'll pay for my education. So I got my degree. I'm the first in my family to get my college degree, so that's a huge milestone for me. That outsees everything, you know, because I knew one day the sweat gonna dry. So I got my college degree, and I went back and did that. And you know, that transition with going to a division, HBCU, if I do it all over again, I'd do it again because you know it touched me different. You know, not too many African Americans go like tier 1 African Americans go to HBCU. It just don't happen. Now you see a lot more going to North Carolina A&T. But back when I was in high school, no, everybody want to go to LSU or Baylor or Texas or USC. So you know, for me, I was extremely happy with my decision because the guys who were around me was good as well. We won Texas relays and we then won Penn relays. And the team that beat us, which is Florida, they beat us the year they beat us. They still got the beat record to this day. They had to run a beat record to beat us.
Yes.
So,
and I think,
and that's what happens sometimes, Bershawn, that we talk about all the time, because you know when the both of us were in Eugene watching the meet, watching these kids, watching different schools, and you know we bumped into you 2 or 3 times. The schools that you thought that wouldn't even be able to make it to a D1 meet or the nationals or the Olympic trials, they were representing. You know, those kids, they came and represented.
And I think that's important too. I always say, be where your feet are. So you have to, wherever your feet were and are, be there and give it an opportunity. You were going to bail out your freshman year. Not even your freshman year, your freshman week. The first week you want to get out of there. But be where your feet are, give it an opportunity. So when we have kids and we talk to these parents, they want to snatch them up because they're having a hard time or things are not going right. This is where you have to test who you are. And you came from an environment. Where were you going to go back to, Batman? You were going to go back to Miami, back to that lifestyle?
Go back to Miami, probably go back to that lifestyle. And what you said, Joetta, is amazing because A, is not where you're going, and B, anything you set your mind to, you can achieve, no matter where you at.
Right.
Because if my heart was set, I wanted to make it. And I spoke into existence. You know, I spoke into reality. I'm like, I want to succeed. And being at St. Aug and being with a coach that's going to, you know, kind of be on the same mindset as me to say, you can do it and I'm going to get you there. Perfect. I couldn't ask for a better situation.
And that's in hindsight, but it will also happen in real time. You know, we're all grown up and you're doing amazing things now. So as you reflect, you say, God, that was a good place to go. But I think for you, it happened while you were there, and that just catapulted you to another level. That while you were there, you saw the transformation, you saw the love, you got the support, and you ran better and better. And you did what you said you wanted to do, which was to go pro after 1 year of college experience. And that is something that a lot of kids try to do now, but everybody's not prepared for that.
Yes.
So how are you prepared for that transition to come from your environment, to come from somewhere where you didn't run? Now you're running hurdles. Now you're at a HBCU. Now you're trying to help your family out. You want to get a contract, but you're too short. You're doing, now you can explain this part now. You're doing 15 strides. So explain that piece so people can understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, so the transition was, can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. So the transition for me was easy because I was a professional athlete from the beginning, right? What I mean by professional athlete is I was my own CEO. And one thing I learned along my journey talking to Alan Johnson of the world, because Alan kind of took me under his wing, is just be your own CEO. And I'm running my own business. And how can I be in position to be successful in my own business? So I knew, okay, I had to train a certain way. I had to eat a certain way. I had to prepare myself a certain way. And it came natural. Like, okay, 2004, Joetta, I took forth the Olympic trials at 18. And I was 19. I just turned 19. And at 20, I was a world champion.
Wow.
In 2005, the very next year. But to kind of go back, is they told me 15 strides would not work on a professional level. They said, you know, the best you can do is 47.8. That's the fastest anybody has ever ran in the analytics. So they say, you know what? I will give you a contract because you've been dominant, but we can't give you nothing that's lucrative because we don't see no room for improvement. We don't see no growth, right? At the time, running 48-2, 48-1, and they say 47-8 is that's the most you're gonna go throughout your whole career. You got that much room for improvement.
Wow.
And I told Joetta, I'm gonna show y'all. I can show you better than I can tell you. And I use that as motivation, and I ran my whole career with a chip on my shoulder because, you know, nobody can dictate your success. Nobody can dictate who you are as an athlete, and I wasn't going to let them dictate who I was. So I went out there, and I did what I said I was going to do. I showed out. I took fourth, and I ran 48 flat, and I PR, and I messed up, and I would have ran 47 if I never crashed last hurdle. I came the next year, and I told Coach, look, either you're going to be on the same page as me if we're going to do whatever it takes to be great, or I got to find somebody else and say, look, I'm ready to go to war with you. And Joetta, from there, I took off. 2005, I lost one race, and that was at the trials. And I had lane 1. I ran 47-8, I lane 1. And from there, my career was spectacular because I was willing to do whatever it takes. I was willing to be a professional. I was willing to, you know, think about every year at the end of the season, how can I get better as an athlete? You know, what can I get better at? What's my weakness? How can I make my weakness my strength? But that 15 stride thing went from running 47-8 to running, at the time, the 7th fastest time ever with 47-2. So, you know, God, you know, if God got something for you, can nobody tell you what you can't do? Nobody can tell you 47-8 is the fastest, and I went 47-2. So with that being said, you know, that was all my hard ambition that I put into it.
And I can hear that. That's the be extraordinary mindset. You can't let other people tell you what you're going to do because they're seeing themselves, they're looking at you through their eyes, and they're ordinary, but you're extraordinary. So not everybody has that. And that's the it that makes you the champion. That's not only in sports, but in life, in parenting. What is that it that you have that makes you something special? Regardless if you're winning or if you have an off day. You know, what is that it factor? So you had the it factor that was inbrewed in you coming from Miami.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, as a little. So we're in our set position still. You have something you want to ask?
Yeah, we have a question in the set position. Hazel has a question for you. It says, track and field has allowed you to travel all around the world. Where was your favorite destination and why?
Oh man, that's a great question. That's a great question, and I've been so many places, and I've been so many beautiful places. But for a long time, it was Monaco and France. For a long time, was my favorite place until I went to a small city in Switzerland called Luzerne, Switzerland.
Yes.
And I, in my career, I never did nothing outside of track. I go to a meet, I kick my legs up, I drink water, and that's it. But this one particular time, I'm gonna tell you this story, is I met this guy on a train. I was going from Lausanne. I went to USA Nationals. I went to Lausanne, which is a diamond league, and then I went to Lausanne, and then from Lausanne I went to Luzerne. So I went to Luzerne early. I met this guy on the train. So I'm talking to the guy. It's his birthday. I say, man, happy birthday. And we're talking. And he asked me where I'm going. So I'm going to Luzerne. I'm going to compete. And he said, okay, what you compete in? I told him I'm an Olympian. I did this, I did that. But this guy was the CFO of IPA Beer Company. He was the top dog of the beer company. So it was his birthday. He was on vacation. And he asked me to come out with his family. And we went up in Mount Pilatus. And it's about 7,000 feet up in the air. And we rode the thing up there. But that's the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my life. And that by far is one of the favorite places I've been to as a professional athlete. Like nothing tops that. And it's amazing. I went to that city so many times and didn't know all of this. And I just wish I would have done more in my career because at this point I was retiring. So out of all the places, the visit, that would be number one. As far as competing, that's a difference. I love Zurich, Switzerland. Yeah. Zurich, Switzerland, the energy, the passion from the fans, the loud, the excitement, nothing beats it. That and Drake relays in the old Haywood Field my top three, and of course, pin relays. So that's a toss-up because I was a fan favorite. You know, everywhere I went, they screamed Batman. I ran with passion, and I interacted with the fans, and I wasn't bigger than who I was. I was a kid out of Miami, Florida, that's willing to love and talk to the fans and inspire anybody I could along my journey.
Well, you know, what we're going to do is explain to the audience, because you went pro, you got a contract, you know, you're going to tell us who you went with. We won't go into all your details, but, you know, there was a bonus money, there was structures, and you made a living out of it. So that's what he's doing as a professional athlete. And I was on the same page as you some years before you. And like you, I would go to the hotel, I would just hang out and run. But then I said, you know what, what's out there? You know, get on these trains, go see the countryside. We're already over here. People loved us, you know, and so like you met people, we were like, wow, it's over. But you had a great opportunity to meet wonderful people and make a lot of money. So who was your sponsor during that time period?
So I was with Nike my whole entire career. And Nike treated me good. That, you know, we started out at a shaky start, and once I proved myself, then I never looked back. I never looked back, Joetta. And I'm gonna let the audience know just an example on what I was doing. Once I won the World Championship in 2005, I didn't receive a appearance fee less than $30,000 for the next 4 years. So basically, every race I stepped on the track, I was getting about $30K appearance fee. Sometimes $40K. The average about $30K, $25K, and about 25-30% of the meets was cash. So I was coming home one time with maybe $110,000 cash.
Right. And
so that was a life.
Funny. And you didn't talk about if you win a meet, if you set a meet record, a world record, if you're in Zurich, and if you in Zurich, the world best time, the American record or American best time, that could be a nice, wonderful experience. So I'm with you on that. Well, I'm not with you on that because I wasn't there like that, but I'm with you. I'm understanding, and I can appreciate what you're saying, but I wasn't on that level because women, first of all, we were nowhere near that. Plus, I wasn't at your stature anyway. But I feel you. I understand that, and that's a great thing. And we're going to have a couple of questions from the audience. If they have a question, raise your hand. While we're going to ask the next question, we're going to talk to us. My daughter, Talitha, and you were in Eugene, Oregon, and we took a picture together. And I think that it's important that you share something. You said you took fourth in the Olympic trials at 19th. Talitha made it to the semifinals, and she was upset as you were. But what you said was that next year, you came back and won. You won. So I think that for the athletes that are on here, or even the business people, you speak to the fact that you don't give up.
No.
You kept going, and it gets better the next time.
Yeah. A champion is not really defined how you fall down, it's how you get up. And we're going to face adversity in life. And, you know, we're going to face plenty of adversity, but it's how we persevere, right? How do we come back? How do we sit down and say, you know what did I do wrong this particular time? How can I make it better next time? And Talitha, I watched her since she was a kid. So for me, it's a more emotional conversation because I look at her as my own. And to watch her go out there and perform in lane 9 and to go out there with, you know, for the audience, you know, do you mind if I go into the emotional side of it? So
no, you got. I want you on my side. So go ahead.
Yeah. So the emotional side of it is this, guys. Is you have so much anxiety. Is on frozen? I'm okay.
No, you're good.
Okay. With Talitha, no, I just can imagine her being in lane 9, being in her first Olympic trials. You know, the emotion part of it. Like, you know, from the moment at the Olympic trials, from the moment you leave your coach to the time you actually run, it's about 30 minutes. So from them 30 minutes, it's so much going through your head. It's so much emotions, right? And now you have to learn how to control them emotions because the emotions sometimes get the best of you because I got to go out hard. I can't let them catch me. I'm in lane 9. So for her to go out there and perform the way she did, she's highly on her way because she was upset. She could have just said, you know what? I enjoyed the moment. It was a good Olympic experience. But the ones that succeed, the ones who's pissed off saying, you know what? I didn't make the finals. I didn't make the team. I'm upset. My teammate made it, and I couldn't make it. And I was the better one, you know? But, you know, so that's what ignites I'm just let y'all visualize, you know, a different type of athlete when you're a professional athlete. Not too many collegians are going to be good professional athletes because of the mindset. The best asset we have is our mindset. From the moment the Olympic Games, from the moment they call the first call to the moment you actually run is about an hour and 15 minutes. The first call, guys, is they call you and they get all 8 guys together. It's a 400-meter hurdle finals. They get all 8 guys together. And they make sure everybody's here. Then a lady holding a sign, and she take you through a tunnel. And you go through a tunnel, it's cameras everywhere. Cameras everywhere, and it's flashing on you. And you go to the next call room. The next call room, they go through your bags to make sure you got no electronics. You can't take no electronics out there. Then you go to your third call, where you put your spikes on, and it's like a little strip track and under the bottom of the track. And you run on this track, and you just hear pure silence. Silence, people drinking water, people biting their nails, people got anxiety. And the last call room, you get your hip number and you strip down. Yeah. And we still waiting. This in between is hour and 15 minutes. And you come out the tunnel, and how the bird nest was structured, the first thing you seen was the torch. The torch lit up, and you come out, and all you hear is loud. You see cameras flashing. And when we came out, they just completed the 800 finals. So I seen Hazel. Hazel made the final. She didn't do as well, and I gave Hazel a hug. And I went about my business to set my block. But I tell this story because to come back to Talitha and to myself, when you're a professional athlete, you have to train your mind first, because from that hour and 15 minutes, you got so many emotions, so many thoughts going through your head. And you see a lot of athletes choke on that moment because pressure bust pipes. That's a true testament. Yes. So it takes guys like me who've been in that experience and who went through this and who went through this, the emotion part of it. Like, after I ran that race, like, I was like, ugh. And I was upset about the race. I was pissed because I won every race before Olympic Games, and I won every race after the Olympic Games, and I lost that one final. And I lost that one final because my coach told me, don't go out too hard. Stay in your race. And we all panic. We all panic, and that's a part of being resilient. And I said, you know what? I took third this time. I'll be back. That's what I said. I said I will be back. Yeah. But I never got back. I'll wait to that next segment to talk about what happened next in my career, because from there my career took a turn. Okay. You think you can run forever. You think I'm invincible. I'm Batman. I could run. I could be at the top of my game no matter what. But God got a way of saying, "Oh, I don't like what I'm seeing, and I'm gonna show you a little bit. I'm gonna spank you, and I'm gonna show you that you're not higher than me.
Right? That I'm God. That He's God. You gotta know who He is, and at all times, and He'll bring you back. Speaking about bringing back and having heart problems and being an athlete, you have cardiovascular problems, but then you also have problems of the heart. But right now, we have a health tip from Jotyme Fitness, which is more of a cardiovascular and not having heart, meaning guts.
Yes. So the heart has 4 main functions. Okay. Now, me experiencing COVID in 2020, last year, December, not having any underlying conditions, what happened was my heart sped up. I'm a good guy. I'm in shape. I'm, healthy. My heart went almost double of what it should go. So these are the things that happens when your heart is in, a faster rhythm and, harder to breathe and harder to function. What the heart does, it pumps oxygenated blood to other parts of the body. That's what it does. It's pumping hormones and other vital substances to different parts of the body. So those are the 2 main things, the pumping, because once the heart pumps out, it has to come back. And what it was doing with me, it was going so fast and I really couldn't get my body together. And then receiving oxygenated blood and carrying metabolic waste products from the body and pumping into the lungs for oxygenation. So everything is about oxygen. The heart goes out, pumps the blood back to you, and you have to start breathing. So imagine my heart at rest 60. Joetta's usually 52, 53. 60 to 100 is a normal heart rate. At rest, mine was 110. So I had to learn how to just let this stuff pump out of my system and bring that fresh oxygen back in my body, and it slowed back down. Today, I'm back down to 68. But 5-6 months ago, I had a heart problem. So maintaining blood pressure, that's what the heart does. It maintains your pressure. So when your heart is going too fast, you're in trouble. You know, try to slow it down. Do breathing exercises, drink a lot of water, take your heart measurement, you know, blood pressure and everything. And that's our tip for heart today.
Wow, thank you for that tip. And when we did our other segments on COVID, he went through all the things that he went through. And being an athlete, you don't think you're going to go through adversities. And as Batman and him and some of you being people, you go through adversities. And that's why if you're on this podcast, if you're not going to leave with anything, you're going to leave with the fact that you are extraordinary. So we want you to be extraordinary. So now we're going to go back to our Batman friend here. He's going to talk about the pro part of it, which he did, and then also what happened. But before we do that, we have some names that we have to mention, Batman. And when we mention these names, just give us what comes to your mind, a short explanation or one word that talks about that person. We're going to hit you with the man of the hour because he has the world record for now, Kevin Young. So what are your thoughts about him? If you had a word or so.
He was a beast.
A beast?
He was a beast.
Okay. What about Rob Benjamin?
The greatest to ever do it.
Rob Benjamin?
In my eyes, if he finished the way I think he could finish his career, he would be the greatest 400 hurdler of all time.
Well, I'm going to come back because we know the audience may know Edwin Moses. They may know that name. So
yeah, and Edwin was smart. He was a genius. He had it down to a science. Kevin Young had a couple good years. He was in spurts. It wasn't a consistent success throughout his career. He had a good race and he had a good season after that. But Rob Benjamin can actually go down as one of the greatest 400 hurdlers of all time.
Wow.
If it has to be an if.
If he finished his career like I think he could finish with, executing his races. But right now, as far as speed, power, stature, endurance, he's like, he has it all. He has it all. No 400 hurdler has ever been faster than him. No 400 hurdler has never probably been stronger than him besides Edwin. And I was a monster. I was a dog. I was just small.
Yeah.
If I was a little taller and like a 13 stride, then the narrative would have been different. Wow. But Rob Benjamin is something I never seen before.
He's a specimen, in other words. And you're for the 400. Okay, good. Yeah. So we talk about your career. We talked about your amazing highlights, 2005 to 11 or so.
Yes.
So if you don't mind, go to the part that you had the little adversity and tell us what happened with that. And if anyone has any questions, raise your hand as well.
So I faced quite a few adversities, right? So 2005 I was world champion. 2007 I came back, I won worlds again. And 2008 I got the bronze. And then 2009 I got the bronze. In 2010 I was number one in the world. In 2011 is where everything just took a turn because I always worked hard, but I got comfortable when it pertained to partying. I like to party. I was a party guy. And I started facing injuries. And I pulled my hamstring. Wow. I'm going to give you two instances. I pulled my hamstring before the World Championship. A week before, I tweaked my hamstring. I was doing a couple of hurdles, and I tweaked my hamstring. And when I tweaked my hamstring, I had inflammation. And I kept going to the trainers, and I'm like, damn, I can't get through. And I'm panicking. I'm like, man, I came this far. I was number one in the world leading up to this point, and I was favored to win. And I get past the first round. I get past the second round. I get to the finals, and my leg is just inflamed. I just couldn't speed up. And I speed up. I feel it grabbing. And I got shot with a cortisone shot to kind of ease the pain and numb it. And I took fourth. Then I come 2012, and I run 47.7 world leading time, going to Olympic trials. I'm feeling great. I won my first round, won my semis. The semis I ran, I jogged 48.5. Jogged. Joetta, I jumped the ninth hurdle, and I jumped the 10th hurdle. And after the ninth hurdle, I shut it down. jumped the 10th hurdle, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, you know, at this point, I'm feeling good, and I see I ran 48.5, and I'm pumped now. I'm like, oh, like when you slow down that much from 48.5, I see 47.5 at least the next day, because I had a whole second where I slowed down, and I get into the finals. And the race go off. I get out good. I run an even race like I normally do. You know, my running style, I get out the first 3 and I back off. And Angelo go out like a batter here. Angelo in lane 6, I was in lane 5. We get to the 8th hurdle. Angelo gets sloppy and he crashes it. When he crashed the hurdle came back and hit me.
Wow. Yeah.
It broke my momentum because I had to go up.
Yeah.
Right? It broke my momentum. And from there, I went to overstride to make my stride pattern. And when you overstride, it takes away from your speed.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to the 10th hurdle, and I either A, stutter step, or just take it. So when I took it, I crashed the fucking hurdle. I crashed it because I took it. It was way up there. Like, it was too far to even take it. I should have just chopped and then regained my momentum, and I could have finished.
Right.
So when I hit the hurdle, I'm in struggle mode, and I'm in third place at this point, and then Karan Clement catches me at the end, and I took 4. I filed a protest, I filed an appeal, and they threw it under the damn bus. They threw it under the bus. They wouldn't talk to me. They wouldn't say why. It was denied. I was impeded. I crashed them, everything. And Angelo is a good friend of mine. He didn't do it intentional, but I get it. He's a defending Olympic champion. I get it. And this is something they don't want to talk about. It's something that I should have talked more about in my career, but I let it go. I'm like, I'll bounce back. But they took away my Olympic gold medal because that year I was dominating by far. Like, it wasn't even close that year. That year I was showing pure dominance. I ran 47.7 in that season, and the winning time Olympic Games was 47.8. Felix Sanchez in the winning the Olympic Games 2012. But that took something from me, because from there I was never the same. Like, you know, I get sometimes you don't make the team. I can accept that. But when I worked my behind off and you take something from me, that hurts as an athlete. It's like I worked my heart out for this moment and you take it away from me.
Right.
It bothers them, right?
And it's still, I can still feel the pain and the upsetness.
Oh, man.
You know, you're still upset about it, and you let it go. Because, you know, in life you let it go. But when now that we're talking about it, I felt myself in your shoes, watching Angelo hit the hurdle, bounce up, hit you. You know, I felt you described it really well. And so I think that may have, did you ever come back? Like, after you did that, I know, I remember your leg was tweaked and you tried to run some races. When did you say, you know what, that's it? I'm not going to tarnish my great career by going out here doing something I cannot do anymore.
So, Joetta, so that's a good question. So, me being Batman, that's who I am. I'm Batman. You know what I'm saying? Like, I watched, when I came into sport, I had Alan Johnson, I had Marion Jones, I had Jeremiah Clark, I had Terrence Trammell. I had these guys mentoring me. I had all these people mentoring me, like, you know, and, you know, Jared, I was, she called me, like, I was like her son. Like, you know, these guys loved on me. And they taught me a piece of the sport that I can treasure forever. And that is not one race dictate who you are. And, you know, and you can be resilient no matter what. And the very next year, I'm pissed off. I'm mad. And I never cried so much in my life for a race. The opening ceremony came, and I seen it. And I didn't watch no Olympics that year. I bawled out crying. And I give a lot of thanks to Sonia Richards Ross, but that's my best friend. And she actually was taught to me, and she stood by my side the whole entire way. Wow. She stood by my side. She embraced me. She loved on me. She, you know, she made sure, you know, that, look, I'm going to win this gold medal for both of us. You know, and I had some really good people around me, you know, some really good people. Your sister's one of them, Hazel Clark's one of them. Like, you know, Hazel loved on me. Like, these guys knew my heart and they knew who I was, and that gave me fuel. Like, I heard the guy Vic say, I watched your career and I yelled at the TV. You know, that was my motivation.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, you're not going to dictate who I am. I'll be back next year. But I ran with anger. So running with anger, like, I trained the same, but I just couldn't win the damn race. And I couldn't win the race because I put so much emphasis on proving everybody wrong. They took something from me and the talk junk to everybody, and I was getting my ass kicked. Yeah. So before USA's, I ran 50.8. Before going to 2013, the trial, and Coach Williams said, let's not go. You know, you're not into it. I said, Coach, look, give me a fighting chance. I said, I get there, I'll be okay. I kept tweaking my hamstring. I kept getting injured. I was drinking a lot. I was upset. And I went out there, and I made the damn team. I went from 50.8 to 48 flat. And it's all because I went from putting pressure on myself to going out and having fun. Like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it all out here. I'm going to run my race. I'm going to run like Batman. I call it the Batman way. I'm running the Batman way. That's it. Right. And I made the team, and I got there, and I pulled my hamstring. Of course, I was out. 2015 come around. 2014, I have a terrible season. 2014, I'm not even the Royal Rankings no more. So Nike and everybody like, maybe Batman days are gone, because I had 2 bad years. I got messed up in 2012, and in 2013, 2014, in everybody's eyes is either medal or bust. If you don't medal, you're done. I don't care how many races you win in the damn Diamond League, you have to medal. And I wasn't medaling at this point, and I was barely making the team. Then 2015 come, and I resurrected. Batman, he come again. And I can remember fighting to get in Drake. They told me, because I have no Royal Rankings in 2014. I was out the rankings at this point. My 2014 was terrible. And out the World Rankings, and I go to Drake relays, and they tell me I have to run the season opener to prove that I'm still relevant. Wow. Like, the guy was terrible. And then I run the third fast time in the world. I opened up 48.7, 48.6, and they put me in lane 2. Wow. And they give all these guys a preferred lane over me. I don't care how bad Allison run. She created that legacy. I created my own legacy. Yes. And at seniority, you know, I'm a professional athlete. I'm going to come show out. Like, I never went to a race and said, I'm going to go jog, or I'm not going to give my all. I went in that race, Joetta, and I kicked me behind. World leading time. World leading time. And I went to Jamaica. I won there again. Yeah. Then I went to Doha, and I broke the stadium record. And I can remember looking up in the stand to Caparati, John Caparati, the one that stopped, and said, I'm back. You can't keep Batman down. You can't keep Batman down. Like, and I'm yelling. Wow. I'm yelling. I just ran 47 seconds. And I ain't run 47 since 2012. And we're in 2015. Wow. I didn't, so I'm going to tell you this. I didn't break 48 seconds in 2014 at all. I think I ran 49.2, if that. So for me to put so much passion into it and bounce back, that show you, like, look, this guy is a killer. So I go on that year, Joetta, and this is going to get interesting. So I go on that year, and I go to win USA National. I won another U.S. title in 2015. And when I get to Tokyo, I tell Coach, I want to win. Let's go to work. Off the plane. And I tweaked my hamstring. And when I tweaked my hamstring, my dad surprised me. My dad and my stepmom and my sister surprised me. And they flew to Beijing. They flew to Beijing, and I can't get emotional about it. So I flew to Beijing, and when they flew to Beijing to watch me run, they watched me run, and I did bad. And when I did bad, it was all good. We went to the Great Wall of China, and we had a good time. And my dad kept saying, man, my chest hurt. I said, they need to get that checked out. And my dad, they flew back home after that. And when they flew home, I had to go to the Diamond League Finals. When I went to the Diamond League Finals, I go there and I capture another Diamond League title, 2015. And I'm flying home, and I get a call that my dad's irresponsive. I'm like, what you mean irresponsive? Like, what are you talking about? And I just talked to my dad. And Oh, excuse me, hold on. So they say he irresponsible. I'm like, why he irresponsible? What's wrong with my dad? So he had a massive heart attack. He went in cardiac arrest, and I flew to Miami. When I flew to Miami, they had tubes down his throat, and I told him to go to the hospital, and he was going to the hospital that day, so they say, and he went into cardiac arrest. And I was number 1 in the world 2015, and I had an amazing season. I was just screaming them back, and now my dad fighting for his life. And they said his brain was dead, and he was down for too long, and I hold my dad in my arms, and he took his last couple of breaths. It wasn't nothing they could do for him. And from there, my career was ruined. I came back. I rose from the dead, and they told me I couldn't do it, and I would have won Beijing if I never hurt my hamstring. I was dominating that season, and I lose my father, and what I do now? What's next, right? And 2016 Olympic trials, I make the finals, and I come in dead last. And I'm at the Olympic trials, and why I come in last is I won my first round, I made it to the finals, and I looked on Instagram, and my grandma is in hospital. So now I go from losing my father to my grandma being in hospital. The day before the finals, she about to die in 4 days. So I took last in the final. I'm an emotional wreck now. I'm crying in the warm-up zone. And people see these athletes on the track not knowing what they go through off the track. And for me, my whole entire career, I faced adversity. I never was dealt the hand that a lot of these athletes dealt. I wasn't dealt the big hand, the big contract. Everything I got, I fucking took. I earned it. I took it. I took everything I wanted. And from there, Joetta, my career was
Oops. Oh, wow. I think we lost him, but he's going to come back. But I just want to say to everyone, if you have any questions, try to put them up real fast so we can have them asked. We're almost at the end of the show. But if
Sharon has a question.
Sharon has a question. I hope he comes back. If he doesn't come back, at least the audience has the opportunity to hear your question. And, when you do a show like this, you never know what you're going to get. Batman is extraordinary. He was authentic. And I hope you appreciate his story, his legacy, his lessons. And we had an opportunity to meet with him out in Eugene, Oregon. So if you don't come back, Batman, I hope you resurrect yourself for the last 3 minutes of this show. But if you don't, we just want to thank you for being authentic, for being honest, for being truthful, to talk about your humble beginnings, how you wanted it so much, and how he is such a nice guy. Yeah. Whenever he sees us, he gives us hugs. He gives my daughter amazing feedback. I hope she heard what he said about, what he did one year, how he came back the next year. It was lights out. He has a daughter. Came to Florida to see her run. He has a daughter.
Yes.
Shanti.
Yes.
Jackson.
Shanti. Yes. Shanti Jackson's #1 in the United States right now. She's actually going to be running this weekend, her state meet.
Yes. So I don't think you're going to make it back, but we just want to thank you for being part of this podcast and being authentic and sharing everything with us that you did. As we always say in the show, we're going to take this baton back. And he doesn't have anything to say right now. No, Tyrone has something he wants to say about the show.
Yeah, I'm just so excited. I went to Eugene last week.
There's a picture of us too.
That's right.
That we have from Eugene, the Olympic trials.
We had fun in Eugene.
There it is.
That's the torch behind us, the tower at Eugene. And that seat, we sat in that seat pretty much every day. And like I said, Talitha did a great job, navigating through those rounds. And she had a long season. And, we saw a lot of good athletes, that persevered and, ran their personal best. Or just the fact of the matter, you got 28 people that qualified for the Olympic trials 400 meters. And an 18-year-old freshman at University of Florida was on that track.
And then you have those that Donovan Brazier, who were expected to make the team, that did not make the team. So the Olympic trials, as Batman said, is about navigating the hurdles. He navigated through 10 hurdles, and each hurdle from the beginning to the end with his grandmother, each 10 hurdles, he has a story for that hurdle. We didn't get a chance to talk about his now. Yes. He is a athlete's advisory consultant for his firm called Elite Management. So if any of you want to know about what he does. There's a website there. He represents the elite athletes, and he's always trying to help navigate your athletes, your student athletes through college and then the transition to being a pro athlete. So with that being said, I just want to say thanks Surre, Goldberg, and Henry for having the vision to sponsor all of these segments this month. As I always say, it doesn't matter what road you take, but what you become along the journey. Thank you all for taking this journey along with us this evening. Batman, sorry you're not here to feel the love from everyone that's on board, but there's a lot of love that they're clapping because you are an amazing individual. Thank you for sharing and thank you for caring. And next week, I'm giving this baton back because we have your athlete going to be the guest on the show. We can't wait to have, there she is, Talitha Diggs will be our guest and the last athlete for this segment. So please, please come on board next week as we have the student athlete, the SEC runner-up, 50.74, 4.0 GPA. Oh, I'm being a mom now. I'm sorry. Let me go back to host. Thank you, Tyrone, for being on the show this evening. And we'll see you all next week. Thank you very much. And we're out for this evening. Thank you.